My political sources to start us off tonight are former Biden White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield, former Trump campaign advisor David Urban, and former Deputy Press Secretary in the Trump White House, Sarah Matthews. And Sarah, it was what happened 4 years ago today that led you to leave the Trump White House. I wonder, when you see what happened today and just are thinking back on that day 4 years ago, how you're reflecting on all of this.
Yeah, what's so crazy is today, watching the events, it felt like a normal day, normal proceedings, and Trump was afforded the respect that he did not give to President Biden when he came into office. And it was good that it was a normal day. That's a good thing for America. But then I think back to 4 years ago, and if you would have told me that when I resigned that evening, that 4 years later, Trump would be awarded the presidency and be back into office and have this major political comeback, I don't think I would have believed you, because I would have been looking at what all those Republican lawmakers were saying that evening. They were done with Trump. I mean, you can look through the archives of the posts that Speaker Mike Johnson put out, Elise Stefanik, Kevin McCarthy, Mitch McConnell, the list goes on. And so then to think the facts of that day did not change, but the politics did for those people. They chose to whitewash the events of that day and to welcome him back into power. And I think it's a disgrace. And I will say, too, one thing I want to note that I found particularly striking was today Donald Trump posted a photo of his crowd that was assembled on the ellipse. And it's because he treats this day as a celebratory occasion. I look at it as one of the darkest days in our nation's history. I think it's a stain on America. But he, as you showed his words, he thinks of it as a day of love. I think of it as a day that we saw 140 police officers be brutally beaten. We saw the first U.S. president disrupt our peaceful transfer of power, and people lost their lives that day as a result.
Well, and you make a good point about the Republicans and how they view this, because a lot of them still don't view it the way Trump does, as a day of love. I mean, several were talking to Mani Raju today about that exactly. But David, what struck me, as you know, you're the Republican here at this table, in the terms of still a Republican, just not a Trump Republican. David, safe to say you are a Trump Republican. But you know, I was looking at, as this was being certified today, Senator J.D. Vance, obviously the vice president-elect, was seated there in the chamber. Next to him was Senator Bill Cassidy, who was one of the 7 Republicans who voted to impeach or to convict Donald Trump after his Senate trial, after his impeachment. There he was fist-bumping J.D. Vance. And I just want to listen to what Senator Cassidy had to say after that vote.
The purpose of the joint Senate.
Our Constitution and our country is more important than any one person. I voted to convict President Trump because he is guilty.
You know, had Trump been convicted, had more Republicans in the Senate voted the way that Senator Cassidy did, he would not have been eligible. He wouldn't have been able to run this time around. He wouldn't have been able to be president again. What does it say to you, though, about how Republicans are viewing Trump's reemergence into Washington?
But he wasn't convicted in the Senate.
Well, if Senator Cassidy had his druthers, he wouldn't have been.
But he wasn't. He had a trial, right? He was impeached, which was a political process. He wasn't convicted in the Senate. It was this issue of democracy in January 6th has been litigated not only in the court system for the big, long investigation. Maybe someone had heard of it. You know, Jack Smith. I don't know if anybody remembers that name. Right? That went on for years. Nothing came of it. It kind of fell apart. It was litigated in the electoral system. We had an entire election where Democrats ran on democracy in January 6th, and the American people dismissed it as well. So I think, hopefully, right, I agree, like the beating of police officers, Donald Trump said it himself, violence, never acceptable. Those people that beat the police officers, that injured a police officer, should go to jail. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But there's a completely different story here on the other side of the Capitol, where the stanchions were moved, where people were allowed in, right? Doors were opened. Some of those
people, cops testified later that they were outnumbered.
Listen,
to be fair to the police
listen, let's watch the video. I challenge anybody in America. Go to YouTube. You can watch all this.
They were outnumbered.
They were not. They were walking by. Kaitlan, there were some people. Listen, the people who were dragged, there were police officers who were beaten on the steps. It's a crime. Those guys should go to jail. The other side, you look at the people, they didn't seem frightened or outnumbered. They were letting people in.
David, so there's video of people crying out for help. I mean, I don't think you can discount. I don't think you can discount that there was violence that day.
I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying that
was violent.
There were people in the crowd that were violent, but to say the entire crowd was violent is completely not correct. I mean, let's look at the prosecutions.
But I didn't say that.
No, let's look at the prosecutions.
But hold on, I didn't, David, I didn't say that.
But she's trying to say that I said the discount the violence. I'm not discounting there was violence. Watch it here. But you show that crowd on the mall, right? You know how many people got prosecuted by the FBI, by the Department of Justice? There are 1,500 people that were prosecuted. So that picture that Trump puts out on the mall of all those people.
But hang on. What,
let's just say
David,
all those people weren't violent protesters.
I'm going to let you make your point, but I want to pull that video back up that we were just showing. Because I want you to make your point, because I think a lot of people share your perspective.
Yeah, those people should go to jail, right?
What we were just showing with the barricades and the officers. Those were not officers just letting them.
No, go to the Supreme Court side.
Yeah, I know the video you're talking about.
No, these people should go to jail. The people on the Supreme Court side, however,
they were trespassing.
They were
trespassing.
Okay, listen, there's a difference between trespassing and physical violence.
I know, but don't you think
shouldn't
they make an example out of these people, though? Like, this was wrong. They shouldn't be allowed to trespass.
Everybody should not be treated equally. They were violent criminals, right? They shouldn't be treated equally. There are people, these people who are beating the police should go to jail. There's no excuse for it, right? There's no excuse for it. Some of the people on the other,
do you think then those people should get pardons? Should those people
that beat the police? No, shouldn't be pardoned.
The people that Donald Trump is promising to pardon?
He didn't promise to pardon everybody. He said he's going to look at it case by case basis. Let's just be factual. Those are the words, right? And to be factual, the only person that died on January 6th, there was one person that died. Ashley Babbitt was the only person who was died.
And she was there because Donald Trump
lost his life. No, wait a minute. If you're arguing because he didn't die on the 6th, then he passed away on the 7th.
We're talking about who died on January 6th.
That is beyond splitting hairs.
It's not splitting hairs.
Come on.
It's factual.
You don't actually.
Why else was she there? She wouldn't have been there that day if Donald Trump didn't spread conspiracy theories about an election that he knew was not stolen. And he told those people to go to the Capitol. And so she was there as a result of him telling her to be there. She would not have died if it were for Donald Trump to accept the results of the election.
She would have died if the police officer didn't wrongfully shoot her. I wish January 6th, I wish the January 6th committee would have done a full investigation for the American people to see and hear. Watch this, and again, don't listen to David Urban, American people. Hold on. Don't listen to American people. Go to the video. It's all, New York Times put this out. It's all over YouTube. Watch what happened to Ashley Babbitt.
Looking at this, yeah, and you can talk about Ashley Babbitt, but that doesn't discount the other actions I did. But can I ask you, as someone who advocated for Trump's reelection, obviously I think your perspective is important because I think there's a lot of people out in the United States who share that. But as you're looking for, why Trump was reelected, him going into office, do you think it is a smart move for him to make one of his first actions, pardoning some of those people? And I know you say case-by-case basis, but we don't still have a clear picture yet on.
No, listen, I think what the president was elected on is securing the border, lowering costs, ending forever wars, right? I can give you a long list of things to precede pardoning some of these criminals.
So you don't agree it should be day one?
I don't agree it should be day one, no. I think there are lots of things the American people care about, much, much more so than January 6th. Because, listen, not only did it not pull on the Democratic side, but on the Republican side, people want their lives improved tomorrow. They want to get rid of this administration, this cursed administration, as quickly as possible. They want prices to go down. They want their lives to be better. And that's what Donald Trump was put into office for.
But there's also, speaking of the transition, I want to talk about the transition that's underway because obviously, we've seen this process moving. It got off to a bit of a slow start. We heard from Trump today on the transition of itself. He accused Biden of making it as difficult as possible. Here's what he told Hugh Hewitt.
They'll do everything they can to make it as difficult as possible. They talk about a transition. They're always saying, oh, no, we want to have a smooth transition from party to party of government. Well, they're making it really difficult. They're throwing everything they can in the way.
I will say the irony there is quite notable, given obviously you were there for the transition last time.
Yes, I will say, first of all, there's reporting in Axios today that Jeff Zients, the current White House chief of staff, hosted a dinner at his house for Susie Wiles. So, the idea that there is some sort of
with Trump's other chief of staff, Reince Priebus was there.
Yes, so let's just note that right away. But also, yes, during the transition to the Biden administration from the Trump administration, our experience was the Trump team would not allow what are called landing teams, the groups that go into the agencies ahead of the inauguration to start doing the planning in between the election and the inauguration, to start gathering information, to understand where things stand. The Trump team did not allow a lot of those landing teams to come in. And remember, we were in the midst of and coming out of a once-in-a-generation pandemic. So we had significant public health challenges that the Trump administration was not willingly, I should say, handing over information to the Biden team. So the idea that Trump would go out and argue that Biden is making this difficult, I don't think that carries a lot of water. I got to be honest with you.
In that interview with Susie Wiles with Axios, which is notable because we don't often hear from her on the record or on camera. She's Trump's incoming chief of staff. David, you know her. She had a comment that stood out to me, Sarah, where she was saying that I don't welcome people who want to work solo or be a star. She said, my team and I will not tolerate backbiting, second-guessing inappropriately, or drama. That would be remarkably different than the early days, especially of the Trump administration round one, when there was such infighting among his senior staff.
Yeah, I mean, I think what else is she supposed to say? Of course, she doesn't want people who are backstabbers and trying to get the limelight and be there for the wrong reasons. They want people who are loyalists. So I think that's a good sentiment for her to have going in, but it will be interesting to see if she can execute on it. Obviously, I will give credit where credit's due. This was a well-run campaign. They won, and everything I've heard about her is that she is a true professional. And so if she's able to maintain that in the White House, obviously running a campaign is a little bit different than running a White House. But I hope that she's able to do that and run a tight ship and prevent leaking and all these things and have people who are competent in those roles. And so I wish them well.
Well,
I mean,
and David,
that's how the campaign was run. I mean, and I've known Susie since 2016. We were colleagues in the campaign. She's incredibly well respected, both sides of the aisle. I think she'll be able to accomplish that. People have a great deal of respect for Susie.
What about with the Republicans on the Hill? Because Trump is coming to Washington for President Carter's funeral. He'll be there on Thursday, certainly something to watch. But the day before, I'm told he's going to be meeting with Senate Republican leadership to talk about their agenda. There's a big divide in the party right now over get points on the board early with doing two separate bills on his priorities, or one bigger one, which is a fear from some Senate Republicans that maybe that's too dicey.
Listen, I've worked on the Hill a long time ago, right? It's never changed. Article 1 is the is the legislative branch, right? They believe that they're a co-equal branch of government, and they're going to have to work with the administration. There are a lot of different opinions here on tax cuts, on reducing the deficit, on spending. All these things are going to get wrapped up in a bill. So does President Trump get one chance of reconciliation or two chances? It's hard to do one thing, once, the big thing once. It's even harder to do it twice. So they're going to have to get some consensus. Senator Thune's a very bright guy. You got the speaker in there. Going to have a lot of people rowing together here quickly.
Yeah, we had some of these same conversations at the start of the Biden administration. How you work with Congress is a huge issue coming right out of the gate.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone, for a feisty panel to start off our night.
It's all love. It's all good.
Up next.